Hey folks, Dave here. I appreciate you stopping by and I hope everyone's well today. So we got Father's Day coming up, and since dads are so great, I thought we'd make something. So we're going to make all of our vectors from scratch. We're not going to download any from the internet, but we are going to download a 100% free font that's good for commercial use. And then we're going to put everything together and make this. So we're going to start by making a hammer from scratch. To make a hammer, we're just going to go over and grab a square, hold down the shift key, and draw out a perfect square, and then click the selector tool. We're not measuring at this point. We're going to make some tools, and then we'll size them up with the toolbox. So we're going to go over to the Shape Properties tab, and if you don't have that, go up to Window, down to Shape Properties, and make sure it's checked. And we're just going to increase the radius on these corners to about 10. And we could have changed the radius over here on the left, but you do one corner at a time from there. Okay, so now we're going to go to the Array tool. And we've got space in a 5, really doesn't matter. We're going to pull them together to make this hammer. And we'll go to the X columns and just click out about 4. Then we've got to ungroup, because after you use the Array tool, you're grouped together. So we're going to pull a couple of these out of the way. We're going to take this, take this second one, make it a little smaller, not very much, and just pull it inside. And then you can select them and either go over to the left and weld them, or you can go up to Tools, down to Boolean Assistant, and do a union. You could also do union here, because a union is 2 shapes and weld is multiple shapes, so either one would work. Okay, so that is the beginning of our hammer. We're going to grab another one of these. We're going to make it much smaller for a handle. Stretch it out a little bit, and with it selected, we're going to go to Tools, down to Deform Selection, 16 points, and we're just going to pull this handle out and make it a little bigger, a little more realistic looking. Then we're going to click the selector tool, then we're going to select everything, and we're going to weld. Okay, that is the beginning of a hammer. We're going to just let this one set to the side for a second to make sure we don't need it for something. We're going to go over and grab a circle, and we're going to draw out just an oval. Again, I'm not measuring, I'm just guessing pretty much. And click your selector tool, Control D to duplicate, pull it out, and we just want something like that. We're going to select both. We're going to go back to Tools and get the Boolean Assistant, and we want to subtract that bottom one from the top, just like that. So select that, click OK. Then we're going to duplicate it, pull it down to make it look like the claw of a hammer. Just have some space in it. Then we'll use this piece and we'll just squeeze it up. We're going to stick it in here just to kind of cover and pull this bottom part together. There is no science to it. I'm just playing around until I can get part of that covered up. And then we're going to take all of this and pull it into the hammer. Okay, that looks okay. Now we can select that and weld that together. We'll pull it up here and try to size it up. May need to stretch it out a little bit, pull it around, and make it look right for you. Whatever you like, you do that. That is pretty close to a hammer, so we can weld it and check and see how it looks. And I think that looks pretty good. That's a hammer. So what I'm going to do is make it small and just put it up in the corner, and like I said, we will resize it. So now we need to make us a saw. To make a saw, we're going to start with a polygon, hold the shift key, and draw out a perfect hexagon. Click the selector tool, go over to shape properties, and turn it into a triangle. Now I'm going to take it back because there's another way you can do this. Prior to version 1.6 of Lightburn, there was a small purple dot, at least it was purple on my screen, up top, and you could grab that handle and change the shape. And it didn't go away, but you have to click away from your item, reselect it, and then you can push Control and it'll appear. Then you can make the change. And I need to rotate this clockwise, and typically I would just go up to arrange and rotate it because I get in a hurry and I don't always do the easiest thing. And I've had some viewers remind me that I can make that change by pushing the period key. So you can go clockwise with the period key and counterclockwise with the comma. And if you're trying to use some of those hotkeys and they don't appear to work, just click away from your item, reselect it, and then do it again. And the latest person or viewer to remind me was Cockatoo Birdman Bill. So Bill, I appreciate it. And I appreciate all the comments and all the help I get from viewers, because it not only helps me, it helps everyone watching, and I really appreciate it. Okay, so we're just going to stretch this out, make it look more like a saw, squeeze it up. I'm going to rotate it a little bit here. I'm going to grab a square and just cut part of this front off. Clicking the selector tool, I'm going to select both pieces, go to Tools, go to Boolean Assistant, go to Subtract A from B, click, and click OK. And then for the radius, I need to adjust the radius on this one corner here. So I'm going over to the left to do it, click, and then click that tip, and we're good. And click the selector tool again. So now we have a saw. And now we need to put some teeth on it. And another thing I do is forget to save a shape when I get a hold of one, because we need another triangle. I'm just going to draw out another polygon. I'm going to push the Control, get my little handler, and make one. Then I'm going to flip it over by going counterclockwise with the comma twice. Now it's flipped over. And we're just going to put teeth on this saw. So with it selected, we are going over to the array. On the X spacing, we're just going to go 0. And then on the X columns, we're just going to click until we get to the end or almost to the end, and then we'll stretch it out. I think I'll back up one, and then we can select, stretch it a little bit, squeeze on it some, and then pull it up inside the saw like that. Select everything and weld it, and now we have a saw. So we need to put us a handle on here, and I think we can just, I'm going to draw out a circle. That does not look like a circle. A circle, and just let it kind of go oblong like that. Click the selector tool, period to flip it. Get it over here and squeeze it up a little bit. Just rotate it and squeeze it some more. I have a handsaw right behind me on the wall. I could look at it, but we're just going to wing it. Okay, something like that. Then I'm going to duplicate that piece. Pull it out, and then we'll put a handle on this. So I'm going to select both of those, click weld. We're going to make this smaller and stretch it out. Squeeze it up a little bit and just work with it until it looks like a handle. And then I suppose we could put something to separate the handle from the saw. Let's try using a letter. I've done this before. It works pretty good if you get the right font. I guess we can just try Arial, or Arial Black. It's kind of dark. I'm just going to do the letter I, capital I. And then just stretch it out. And just set it in there. And you can put any, you can draw something out, whatever you want to do. And then we will do that and make it an engrave just so it makes a mark. And that looks pretty good. So now we're going to group all of that together. You can group it up top, or you can right click and group here. And then we're just gonna rotate this, make it smaller, and like I said, we will resize these after we get our toolbox made. Okay, so we need to make a ruler. So we'll make a ruler, and then we will make our toolbox and go grab our font to write something on it. To make a ruler, we're just going to grab a square, draw out a rectangle, hit the selector tool. I could have used that letter I, but we'll draw something out so we can do something in multiple ways here. Just drawing out a little mark. I will make it an engrave as well. Flip that one with the comma. I'm using those tools, Bill, so I appreciate it. And then we're just going to make this small. We just want some kind of mark on the ruler so it actually looks like a ruler. And then we'll go over to the array tool. On the X spacing, I will put 3 millimeters. On the X columns, we will just click them out until we get to the end, whatever that takes. That's good enough. Click OK. If you want to, if it'll make you feel better, to stretch it to the end, do that. We'll select and group. Select, rotate with the period, and then we will set it aside with the other tools. I'm going to push them way up in the top here so we've got room to work with this toolbox. Okay, let's make us a toolbox. To make the toolbox, let me get these tools further out of the way so we will have plenty of room to work. We're just going to draw out a square, hold the shift key, drop it out, hit the selector tool, go up top, leave your lock on, and make it 150 millimeters square. And that's about 6 inches. Then we're going to select it, go over to shape properties, and increase that radius to 10. And we are going to need about 4 of these. I hope that's not behind my head. So we're going to use the array tool. We're going to put the spacing at 0. And then on the X columns, we're going to click out 4 of those. Then we're going to go up top and ungroup. And we're going to take this one and put it inside. Let me get the one I'm working with over here so you can see it and I'm not bouncing around too much. I'm going to make it smaller, and again I'm not measuring. We're just going to set it in there because we want the inside to be hollow. And this will be our centerpiece. The other 2 pieces will be front and back. And that's snapped into place. So if you don't have snap on, go up to your settings and just make sure snap to object, snap to grid is on. So I'm going to select this. We want this to look more like a handle. So I'm going to squeeze it down a little bit. And then I'm going to go to Tools, Deform, 16 points, and just pull this up a little bit here in the middle and make it look like a handle. And then click the Selector tool, and then I'm just going to group these 2 together. So that is the centerpiece. Now for the back and the front, I really didn't need this other piece. I'm just going to delete it. I'll duplicate this one after we resize it. So I'm going to pull it down and set it over here about halfway because the tools will set inside. I'm going to try to get this bigger. Move everything over. Hope I'm not making this too painful. And that should do it. So we're going to duplicate this piece. Control D. Pull it out. So now we have front and back. And now we can size our tools up. Because we just want them to hang out of the top. And set inside. So this can be stretched out a little bit. And it'll sit in here like that. Let's move this out of the way. We'll put the ruler in the center. Something like that. And then the saw will go something like that. And it'll all be glued in place and held in that center pocket that we just made by welding these other two pieces or grouping these other two pieces together. So now we have everything made. We want to write something on the front. I think World's Greatest Dad. And we're going to go grab a free font that is available for commercial use, and then we'll make it out of that. Okay, we want a font that looks nice cut out. So we're going to go to thefont.com. We're going to click on this comic selection. We're going to go here to preview, type in Dad in all caps. Just go across here. We're going to select large. We're going to leave sort by popularity. Go over to more options and check 100% free. And then click submit. So the font I selected is this first one. Back So Sappy. I guess that's what it is. So you want to just download this. Then go to your download folder and you will get a zip file. So just right click on the zip file, extract with whatever compression program you have. Then you'll get a folder. Open that folder, right click and install. And then that font will be made available to Lightburn. Lightburn doesn't actually come with any fonts, it just inherits whatever is on your computer. So it should be available right away. So I'm going to click text and I'm going to try to find this new font right here. And I'm just going to type out in all caps, World's Greatest Dad. And I'm going to get a copy of it with Control D. So that's going to be too large. So I'm going to Control Z to back up so I can resize this. Because I want to put a score on here and then put the cut letters on top of that score. And it'll help me line them up because, you know, I might not put them straight. Alright, so Control D again. I'm going to grab a copy and I'll make sure it's centered. It should have snapped into place, but I'm going to select and center it. Then I'm going to select it and make it a light score. That's not loud enough. Well, I will just make this 100 and line, and that should be fine. And I'll leave that one at 80/40 for the ruler and the mark. And when you're engraving, make sure you move these up above your cut line, because it is ugly not to do it. And these letters may be way too small to work, but we'll find out. So all we need to do now, folks, is get to the laser and see if I can fit this all on one sheet of wood. If I can, I will. We're going to cut it out of 3mm basswood plywood. And let's go do that. All right, we're about ready to go. We got everything on one piece of wood. I recently made a video on these risers that prevent flash burn, and you'll get much cleaner cuts. And this is just homemade. You don't have to buy anything, just make it yourself. I'll drop a link to that video and check it out. You'll be glad you did. Okay, let's frame it up. All right, well, let me put this all together and we'll get a closer look at it. Well, here's our finished project, and it turned out pretty good. I just glued the back piece and center piece together and then glued the tools inside, laid the front on and glued it, and then glued the letters on. So you folks can use your imagination and make this look even better. You could add some cutout circles with scores in them to make it look like the toolbox is held together by screws. I'll drop a link to how to create an art library if you don't already have one, and you can save each individual vector in your art library and then put everything together and save it, and then be able to pull this up anytime you want to. So if you have any questions about this or anything I've got posted, just let me know and I'll get you an answer. If you have any general laser or Lightburn questions, send me those and I'll do my best to get you an answer. So I really appreciate you folks taking time to watch. It does help the channel grow. I appreciate the comments and the questions. It not only helps me because I am still a newbie, it helps all the viewers, and I really appreciate it. So just check back often for new videos. You folks take care, and we'll see y'all next time. Thank you.